welcome to another episode of The Scramble. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jason Hawley. Today we will discuss the development of the UNLV Medical School and its potential economic, social, and political impacts on Southern Nevada. We will also discuss the contemporary state of public education in Southern Nevada and possible solutions to various poor rankings. Lastly, we will discuss the margin tax and potential implications for businesses and government entities. Before we begin, allow me to take a moment to introduce some of our panelists. First, we have a special guest with us to my right, Brian Greenspun, president and editor of the historic Las Vegas Sun, publisher of Showbiz Magazine, Las Vegas Weekly, Las Vegas Life, and The Sunday. He's also a member of the President's Community Advisory Board of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and the benefactor of the Greenspun School of Journalism and Media Studies. Thank you for being with us, Brian.
Thank you, Jason.
Next, we have Alex Valto, a senior in political science with a minor in Brookings Public Policy. We also have Sharon Young, president of the Graduate Professional Student Association and doctoral candidate in anthropology. And finally, we have David Sarabian, a senior in political science and former State Department intern. Thank you all for being with us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, let's get started on our first topic. In recent weeks, UNLV formally began the accreditation process to commence the School of Medicine, which is expected to begin in the fall of 2017. Allocation for funds for the new school entailed recent state budgetary approval of $26.7 million. Dr. Barbara Adkin, planning dean for the medical school, is currently working with university officials to develop a comprehensive plan for new facilities, faculty recruitment, curriculum planning, and securing additional private funds. Given the progress thus far and expected completion in just 24 months, how might the school alter the existing economic, political, and social landscape of Las Vegas? Alex, how about I start with you?
Well, I think the kind of economic gains are immense. Like, not only would we be able to boost the competitiveness of our local health industry, we'd be able to strengthen the health district downtown. We'd have a lot of ways of increasing the amount of jobs that are available just by investing in the medical school. But on a broader scale is the way it would improve overall medical care in Las Vegas. That's very important because Nevada ranks very low in terms of the amount of physicians per capita. So if we were to increase the amount of doctors, we can move it closer to the national average, which is about 200 per, I believe, 100,000 people, whereas we're currently at 244 per 100,000.
Okay, so increase in Brian, what do you think as well?
Well, first of all, I'm just thrilled to be amongst such scholars.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you.
What I think is not nearly as important as what the rest of the people around this table think. But to carry on with, of course, you're a Brookings minor, is that what I hear? And when you say the word Brookings, that's something special to me because I've been involved with Brookings for a long time. And it's the Brookings Institution that basically started this idea, not necessarily of a medical school, but brought it to the point that it is today by discussing and sharing and doing the data mining that created the impacts and the impact studies of what a medical school will actually do in a place like Southern Nevada. When you look around the country, you don't find too many cities our size. In fact, I would guess you don't find any city our size or even close to our size that doesn't have a medical school. Nevada has a medical school, but it's in Reno. And Reno is farther away than Phoenix or Los Angeles. And so we are more akin to a Phoenix, let's say, than a Reno. We're 3-4 times its size. And the fact that we don't have one, exactly the points that you brought out, the quality of our medicine, while it's getting better, is nowhere near what we need it to be. The number of doctors, only because the candidates for being doctors, medical doctors, go out of state to school for the most part, and then for their residencies, and most of them stay where they do their residencies. They don't come back here. And so that alone will increase the number of doctors who grow up in Nevada, can go to school in Nevada, and of course will have the ties to stay in Nevada. That will set the bar a little higher for the quality of medicine. And one of the things that we shouldn't forget, what's our number one industry? Tourism. I have a lot of friends who live in Los Angeles, and a number of people who go to Los Angeles when they need medical care, certain kinds of medical care, and it takes forever to get in, and then it takes forever to get anywhere in Los Angeles. You got to go all over the place. Can you imagine how many people from Southern California who have to do that every day are going to come here for medical care when we get it to that kind of level. So medical tourism, which we are all set up for, will be a huge economic boon to this part of the state. So, I mean, the Brookings studies, I think the numbers are something like $1 billion of economic impact when the school's up and running. And we're all sitting here saying, where are we going to get 10 million? Where are we going to get 20 million? How about $1 billion in extra economic activity in this community? That's big.
It is.
And we're missing it. Every year that we don't have a medical school, we're missing it.
Now, I know that right now they're proposing that the medical school will be at the Shadow Lane campus, from what I've read, for at least for 2017, and they're planning to build some additional facilities later on, perhaps at the main campus here on Maryland Parkway. Given that the dental school already exists on the Shadow Lane, in the Shadow Lane area where the medical district exists, would it be better to have the majority of the medical school on the main campus, or does it really matter where it's located at all?
I think because we have such a successful dental program and we already have, and we have the opportunity to build in that area, that would facilitate collaboration between our School of Dental Medicine and the School of Medicine that would be developed. So I think it is an appropriate location. One of the things that Dr. Atkinson has talked about is the possibility of building other campuses for the medical school in different parts of the valley. So it wouldn't just be self-contained in that one particular area. It might start off there but could eventually expand. So this would create opportunities for collaboration and also expansion in other locations.
Interesting. David, what are your thoughts? I'm curious.
I would love to see the medical school be on the main center campus. I think that the real issue that we have with the main campus is just not enough buildings. And we've really, certainly not enough parking. And I think that we really need to improve the infrastructure here in one central location, because we can get an agglomeration of knowledge here with biology, with all the different fields, especially because a lot of the nuclear goes on at the main campus, the nuclear research. We can hope, it would be wonderful if we could get the nuclear medicine to start to form up, especially because relative to the universities that have thankfully been able to have the national labs, historically speaking, since the Manhattan Project, UNLV has been able to do very well in nuclear research. And I would love to see nuclear medicine and the medical school in the same area on campus. Now, to touch on Brian's remarks, also part of the Brookings study was that they found that most other states, people that if they're trained in their state, they've got a 40% chance that they'll stay in their state with their medical training. Nevada is unique in that it's a little over 70%. And so whatever counter-arguments that have been made that, oh, we'd lose people to Southern California it's just crap. And we really do need this medical school, and I'm surprised we haven't had it sooner. But I think that it's great, and I think that we should have it on campus, and I think that we need to include more things on campus. And if it's not going to be on campus, then I'm fine if it's going to be like a George Washington University where it's just across the street, or it's something like that.
Right. So another interesting question that and perhaps this is a little bit too obvious to ask, but I have to ask it. There has been a cultural orientation with regard to general education here in Southern Nevada. That is, if we look at the funding that's allocated for public education here in Southern Nevada, and perhaps the overall attitudes towards public education, it's a little bit different here than you'll find in perhaps other parts of the country where there are more resources, essentially. So my question is, incorporating this medical school, will this benefit people that are going to UNLV and other majors, not just going to UNLV altogether, but the overall mindset towards getting the baccalaureate degree and perhaps staying in Las Vegas at UNLV for higher ed degrees as well, just in general? Brian, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think you've hit on an important part of the overall issue here. Las Vegas is a place of excellence for a few things, most of them gaming and tourism related. Everybody knows Las Vegas for that. Yeah. UNLV is a place of excellence for the hotel school. If it were a place of excellence for its medical school, its hotel school, maybe its engineering school, which is coming up very quickly, all of a sudden, the word around the rest of the country is that is a place of excellence. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the area of study, whether it's anthropology or whatever, that you're interested in, but if the young people who are planning to come to college know that university, even its basketball team, as a place of excellence, it will draw more excellent students. And the more excellent students, I don't know if that's proper English, you'll have to tell me, who come here, we've got our chance to keep them here, and they'll become excellent citizens. So I expect when the medical school comes, it will become a place of excellence. Dean Atkinson is tremendous, and whatever comes next, this will be a place of excellence because Las Vegas will demand it. We just demand that that except in our schools for some reason, and that is a cultural issue over decades and decades and decades. But the number of people who are here and the new people who are here are demanding it.
Fantastic.
They are demanding that their kids have the opportunity, not just at university, but K through 12, have the opportunity to be incredible students and go to incredible schools. And wouldn't it be nice one of these days, soon I hope, that UNLV is really one of these incredible schools. And again, you know, the advent of Brookings a few years ago and now the Brookings Scholar Program, that took UNLV from an academic standpoint and brought it up to a level where now people are paying attention to it.
Absolutely.
Just that little bit. Imagine what a medical school would do that's top quality.
And to mention the K through 12 as well.
I just thought I'd open that up for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Not using charter schools would be an interesting thing as well, where they're actually on the same level, where there's not a huge discrepancy. Does anyone have any final thoughts on this topic before we take a quick break?
Well, I just kind of think, you know, what you were just talking about, it's creating that hope that will allow students at lower levels of education kind of be inspired to continue, because our economy's been so dependent on service industries. You've never had to go to school to kind of sustain a life here.
Right.
But if we make it more attractive, by making all the degrees more attractive, making the jobs more available, it will inspire people to go through that education process.
Let me tell you one quick story
Yeah.
before
Sure.
we go to break.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
Please, go ahead.
Just one thing to keep in mind too is that medical schools bring in research and bring in research dollars. So that brings more funding to the university that can then be used in different ways to benefit everybody. So it isn't just about the medical school improving itself, it's about improving the entire campus and improving the quality of all of our education. So I think in that sense we'd be able to draw in higher quality students and keep students who might be going to other schools in different areas.
Fantastic.
That's all. I'll wait. It'll wait. We've got to take a
Absolutely.
break.
Absolutely, sure. Well, we'll be back in just a moment, and please stay with us. Thank you.
Every year, millions of young women try to change the skin they were born with and say they'd die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org.
Help support the Breast Cancer Patient Education Act, a bill that will help make sure women facing a mastectomy are told all their options about breast reconstruction. Visit broaddayusa.org for more information.
I remember the moment
I'll never forget that moment.
that changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors who count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved a life to somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
I realized at that moment, these people really needed us. And I was going to make a difference, right here in my community.
Be there for your community at NationalGuard.com.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised.
Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right seat to make sure your child is protected.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. According to globalreportcard.org, data collected in 2009 show that children in the Clark County School District rank on average in the 33rd percentile for math and the 37th percentile for reading when compared to existing data of students globally. On the national level, compared to other school districts in the United States, Clark County ranks in the 42nd percentile in math and the 38th percentile in reading, still markedly lower than the majority of other school districts in the U.S. Some reports have identified various issues which typically precipitate these numbers, such as non-traditional family structures, low rates of educational attainment among parents, and unfamiliarity with English, which subsequently results in lower levels of reading comprehension. But are these issues it? What else can be done to improve the academic success of all students in Clark County? Brian, why don't we start with you?
Sure, why not? I'm a product of Clark County schools. Yeah. Look what happened to me. It's been a long time since I've been in school, but numbers like 38% and 40% don't sound very high to me. Okay, I remember a time when our school district ranked well up there. I mean, it's a long time ago. And yes, the issues that you talked about, they are significant. English language learning is an important deal. The kind of the home structure that we have, that's an important consideration. But all of that can be fixed. We just, in my view, haven't had the community will to go get them fixed. Because it's, in this state for a long time, you know, you've got those who are invested in the status quo and those who want to change. And when those invested in the status quo seem more powerful or can figure out how to divide and conquer those who want to change, nothing changes. I am heartened by the fact that in the last 5 to 10 years, there have been a lot of young families who have moved here, and parents who are vitally concerned. I won't say more concerned with their children's education than prior families, but in positions to do something about it now. Plus we have mass. We have 2 million people where we used to have 200,000 people. And you have the southern part of the state that is impacting greatly, or it should anyway, the political structure and the financial structure of the state. So all the stars, if you will, are aligned to go make an impact. And no, it's not just about money, but you can't do these things without money. And you can't have a state that says, we're going to do it without money, and when you show us that you can do it, then we'll give you money. Because all that does is it pushes it down the road a little bit. And then you have another half a generation of kids who grow up undereducated, and it continues the problem. Then they come to UNLV or some other college, and they have all these remedial classes on reading and writing and arithmetic, if you will, and that brings the colleges down, and these kids fail. It's not fair to them, it's not right, and it's not good for the university, it's certainly not good for K through 12. So you pointed out those issues. I'd say this, while they may not be the only issues, let's fix those three. If we fix those three, we're going to get about 85% of the way there. And then those 30 and 40% ranges will be up in the 70 and 80% range. And we can pretty much live with that.
I see. So the fundamentals are becoming proficient in reading, knowing English, mathematics, just the basics.
Well, the push for STEM learning.
Right.
I've got a friend who calls it STEAM because he adds A for arts, because arts and math, they're all pretty much connected.
They overlap.
And so we've got to do that. I mean, we're falling so far behind nationally and certainly internationally from a competitive standpoint on the science and technology and engineering, all those kind of things. Our kids won't have a chance, which means our country won't have a chance to compete in the latter part of this century. We've got to do something about it. We've got to have the right teachers. That's money. We've got to have better educational opportunities, whether it's computers, science labs, whatever that is. That's money. We've got to have better principals and educators at the top who are helping to do this. That's money.
Absolutely.
But it's not outrageous amounts of money compared to what we will get if we are successful. I don't know what the numbers are. You guys may know because you're a lot closer to it. But something like if you invest $1 in the right kind of education, it's worth $10 down the road. Who wouldn't take that kind of investment?
Absolutely. Now, Sharon, if I could ask you, you're a doctoral candidate in anthropology. Typically, doctoral candidates teach entry-level courses, 100 level, 101. If you haven't taught it, have you at least
I'm currently teaching a 102 class.
Okay, what have your experiences been like with those students in the 102 class? Have there been issues with basic writing and other things that pertain to these basic cornerstones of education?
So I definitely have students who I'm consistently impressed with, who are performing at a level that's much higher than I would expect. But then there are also students who are making very basic mistakes with writing, for example, that I would expect them to be proficient in by the time they come into an undergraduate program, especially taking some of the more complicated courses. You know, the one that I'm teaching right now is a science-based course, and so if you don't understand the terminology, it's going to be very difficult for you. So I definitely see a lack in some areas. I will say, though, conversely, I've taught in our gifted student program for middle school students here at UNLV, where they come during the summer and take a 3-week course. And some of them blew me away. I mean, the quality of their work and their ability was far surpassed what I had seen in some of my introductory courses here at UNLV with our entry-level students. So I think that potential is there. Yeah. It's just understanding how to foster that potential and give the students the resources that they need to understand the basic building blocks.
What do you think the kind of backgrounds those students came from who were gifted? I have to ask this because
that's a great question.
We have to address that.
So my understanding is that they came from a variety of backgrounds, but I don't know the exact statistics on how many came from where, but I know some of them were on scholarships and some of them were not. So the program did cost, you got college credit for attending the courses, was my understanding, and some of them were given scholarships for it. So I think they were in public schools primarily, but I'm not sure exactly which schools.
Okay, interesting.
But the fact that they were at a summer program at the university meant that, you know, they were already focused on doing better in school and maybe going to higher education. And so, so you got maybe the cream of the crop, if you will, which was great. And then all the rest of them who are being left behind for all kinds of reasons you don't get to see.
And this, I think, speaks to your point about the very diverse population that we have that we're serving in our school system, and really needing to understand how to tailor the learning experience to those individuals and their different backgrounds and their abilities. So I think, you know, different teaching styles and classroom management in particular. I mean, our classroom sizes here, from what I understand, are very large. And as a former middle school teacher myself, before coming to graduate school, I can say that managing a classroom of 40 students is very difficult. And you're not doing very much teaching when you're monitoring all of their behavior. So I think that there are things that can be done to help students who have that potential get to the place that those students I was fortunate enough to work with were at. It's just a matter of, like Brian said, we need to invest in them and invest in the right places.
Absolutely. David or Alex, any thoughts on this?
I'd say one of the biggest takeaways that I can get from this is that when it comes to education, even in my own personal experience and I've seen in others, is how much people are invested in it. Because I remember about a year ago, there was the discussion of let's bring a medical school. And a lot of kids my age said, nobody wants to go to a medical school here. And it's like, if you aren't invested in it, if you don't care, and especially with kids that are young, if the parents are not invested in their children's education, if they think, I live in Nevada, who cares about a medical school, you don't need it, then that is, I think, worse than any funding issue at all. Because if you have that attitude, nobody's going to try, nobody's even going to want to have those resources. And we need to start fostering a spirit of, let's make Nevada the best that it can be. We have the #4 hospitality college in the world, and we need to take that reputation. We had, you know, our basketball team won a national championship. We need to take those few moments in spirit of world-class excellence, and we need to bring the rest of the university up to that level. We need to bring the rest of Southern Nevada up to that level, because if we can convince millions upon tens of millions of people to come here because of who we are, because of what we believe in good hospitality. If we have that much belief to bring that many people here to Southern Nevada, then I'm sure that we can bring excellent education here as well.
Alex, final thoughts before we move on.
Well, I think, you know, we can all agree that school districts kind of underfunded, has a lot to do with funding formulas, kind of privilege more affluent groups, different sections of the city. One way that I think that we can directly help is, though, by funding preschool education, because I know that Clark County in the state of Nevada does not rank very high in funding before that, and it kind of the same problem you're experiencing in your classrooms. Kids get to kindergarten, they're not prepared, they don't know the alphabet, they don't know basic things because they haven't had the ability to interact with people that have taught them that. So it's targeting them when they're younger so they're in a better position to succeed once they're given the opportunity at a higher age.
Any final thoughts, Brian? Is
final thoughts for the program, or are you breaking it down?
For the program.
Oh, well, yes, I do. I would say this, if the four of you were the leaders today and that you were tasked with fixing education, we would get it fixed. Because the attitude I'm hearing is exactly the attitude that we're supposed to have. But for a whole lot of reasons, Nevada grew up with people who just frankly didn't have that attitude. In part, we didn't know it, we weren't challenged to have it, or they didn't care. That was yesterday. I want to tell you a real quick story. I'm involved in the Sun Youth Forum every year, where we take juniors and seniors from high school. And what we see are the best and brightest from the high schools. This should end on a good note. Each year for the last 10 or 15 years, these kids are so well prepared, they are so knowledgeable, they are so driven, and they are separating in many, many respects from the views of their parents, which is unheard of. Usually a 16, 17-year-old kid comes to one of these and they're parroting what they hear at home. In many, many respects, they are breaking with what their parents believe at home. And if that has a reflection on an old Las Vegas and a new Las Vegas, there's a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely. Well, that is a great note to end on, and thank you for that. And there is a lot of positive that we can look for and discuss on our next episode. But for this episode, that is all the time we have. Share your opinions and any ideas or topics you'd like us to scramble about to thescramble.unlv@gmail.com. You can also catch full episodes of The Scramble at UNLV-TV. For all of us here at The Scramble, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.